A very good morning and greetings to all of you. And it's my great pleasure to welcome all of you to this joint inaugural program of both seminars on the industrial automation and pumps, valves and fittings. My colleagues on the board, guest of honor, Mr. Narayan, Ms. Priyamada, Kishore Sundaresan, Mr. Harendra Pandya, Mr. Sambrani, and Mr. Ashish Karpure. Thank you for joining us on this inaugural session. And also my heartiest welcome to all of you, all the delegates, keynote speakers, plus session chairman and co-chairs. When we have planned this seminar on both on the industrial automation and pumps and valves, we have really looked at how chemical process industries can go ahead in the coming decades or coming years and decades, because technology is changing so fast in the field of every field of engineering. Digitization is the key word which is coming on. Digitization and industrial IoT, which otherwise in Germany it is known as Industry 4.0. In one of the seminars which I've attended last week, one of the presentation from management consultant was showing an airport recently built in China is being operated by 800 people. Whereas an airport which is constructed now in northern Germany, planning to be inaugurated shortly, is intended to be operated only by 4 people. So you can imagine the implications of digitization which will have on employment at the same time. At the same time, there will be a lot of new opportunities coming up by virtue of, and social equity will enhance by virtue of digitization. And at the same time, we'll have to really look at it that can we sustain without digitization in the coming years? It is absolutely not possible. Day before yesterday, we had a presentation on various topics during the EPC conference. One of the presentation from Linde director was telling by year 2020, 2 things will come down by 50%. One is schedule of construction of projects. 50% will come down. And the other is cost. 2020 is not far away. It is only 3-4 years ahead. So you can imagine digitization and the related areas will certainly bring in what influence on the social as well as engineering side. Now, on the case of pumps and valves, the theme is Make in India. Now, Make in India, Government of India has 2014 announced the Prime Minister that Make in India is our moment in coming in. And government rightly identified 25 sectors and has put a lot of efforts to bring up Make in India as a movement in the country. One step ahead, which the government is going to announce, is out of the 125 sectors of identified over Make in India, government wants certain sectors India to become champions. Manufacturing, Indian manufacturing to become global champion. When they say global champion, if not number 1 slot, at least number 2 or number 3 slots. After due deliberations over the last 1.5 years, from 125 sectors, government has really narrowed down to 7-8. And one of them is pumps and valves. They also deliberated on the instrumentation, whether they can bring in as a champion industry. The government has taken a lot of initiative in bringing up an electronics policy to set up in the country, electronic industry. The committee identified that it is slightly far away to talk on instrumentation to become a global champion for Indian manufacturers, because the basis of manufacturing of electronics is still far away. Unless it is picks up, instrumentation, automation cannot. So the first focus is on pumps, valves, and to some extent fittings. Along with that, of course, automation, automotives. There are areas which are related to some sectors of chemical manufacturing. India will become globally champions. Now, when you become a global champions or intending to global champions, one of the themes identified is what are the challenges and opportunities we are looking at. Indian manufacturing, there are certain challenges certainly we look at. One is, we need to, when you look and make in India, it is a global manufacturing, global operations in India. You need to have a global mindset. Without bringing in global mindset in across the human resources, right from shop floor to the top management, you can't really go into global. That's the biggest challenge for Indian manufacturers to become a global champion. Bring up our human resources to global thinking. Globally, they are doing business in their own courtyards. Second thing is competitiveness. As I said, by 2020, if you are bringing down the cost by 50, you can't sustain in the manufacturing unless you are competitive. And how do you become competitive? It's only by continuous innovation. So you need to have continuous innovation built in across the value chain to become globally competitive. There is another aspect for, especially for Indian manufacturer, on-time delivery. If you do not deliver on time, you can't be in the global competitive market. So you need to bring up across the value chain, not only enhancing the skills, also the mindset to ensure that timely delivery, safe and secure. Very, very important. 10,000 miles away, our customer doesn't know our faces, but the product's how it is delivered. Safe packing, safe documentation. Another area where Indian manufacturers lack is documentation. It is not detailed to the core. So we need to look at how the documentations can be perfect. Then, of course, there are other areas like HSC, health, safety, and environment. Not only in our own manufacturing, also by utilizing the products manufactured by us, none should have any problem. So we have to look at across the value chain built into HSC as a whole. And when you do business, you need to have another aspect is the IPR, intellectual property rights. Need to not only observe, but also respect IPRs. Then, of course, there are other certain challenges which you certainly look at is on-time service. Continuously consistent services to provide for the product service. Then only you can say. In my opinion, we need have a lot way to go. And I am sure platforms of this nature which Chemtech organizes every year on a subject, either in oil and gas or in chemical engineering, will certainly help our Indian industries to become globally. I thank Chemtech organization for giving this opportunity to me as well as to my colleagues as well as the colleague industries to come to the global platform. Thank you once again for being us and sparing your valuable time. And we look forward. The themes as well as the various subjects listed here are all relevant to, one is on the automation side, digitization, IoT, how it will leverage the chemical process industry to become competitive, as well as at the same time to meet compliances. Very, very important subject to sustain. Then, of course, on the pumps and valves to make Indian manufacturing to global chain. While automation will be happening in this conference, in this room, pumps and valves in the next building on the mezzanine floor. Thank you. Thank you.